I was doing the Nissan Xterra Western Regional Triathlon Championship. It was up in Lake Tahoe. It used to be held there every September. I don't even know if it is anymore. It was like the last weekend of September going into October. So in Tahoe, that's kind of a transitional time in terms of the weather. Time. Yeah, so in the weather, it can be 80 degrees, 85 degrees one day.
Season, though.
It could be 40 the next day. We'd gone out there the day before. We always went up there a couple of days before to try to acclimate, right? Because you got your elevation, you're a little over 5,000 feet. We were coming from sea level, so that's a thing. What we know now is it takes about a week to really acclimate to that. But my thing was I never sleep the first 2 nights I'm up at elevation. Like I have very, very broken sleep. My respiratory rate is off and I don't sleep well. So I wanted to make sure I was up there a couple of days early every time when we went to do this race so that I could acclimate there from a sleep perspective and try and get
sleep and oxygen.
Smart.
Trying to get my, my shit together. Right. But also what we do is we go out, we pre-ride the trail, pre-run.
Opposite of David Goggins with the myoplex and the just taping of the feet.
Yeah. I never just showed up.
Yeah, dude.
Not to this one. This race was big. So then we'd also go down and we'd go and get in the water. And so we'd always pull on the wetsuits to swim because where I was living in Southern California most of this time, we didn't need to swim in wetsuits most of the time. It was for more of a comfort and a
Lake
flotation
Tahoe,
thing.
You need 3-4, right?
Yeah, it's a different deal. But we'd get in like on the first day, no swimsuits or sorry, go back to swimsuits. No wetsuits. Sorry. So we just get in our swim trunks or whatever, and we'd swim a little bit. Dude, you get in that water and you just be like, what the fuck?
What am I doing?
So, we were swimming miles, miles and miles and miles every week. In this particular event, it was only a half mile to 1 mile swim. This was a modified event. So it's more of a sprint, right? Yeah. I think this particular one was a mile, but we'd go out and you'd swim, you get 50 meters out and, you'd just be trying to maintain and you'd have to come up fully out of water because your body's just freaking out. The point of that is then the next day we put the wetsuits on, get a feel for that. The first couple of days, the last event that I went up there, those 2 days before the event, it was like beautiful day. It was like 75 degrees on the high side during the afternoon. And that's when we were practicing. Well, we showed up the next day, the race started at 8. You get to the race at about 6:30, getting all your shit out there. Oh, it was worse. The outside air temperature was like 42 degrees. Damn. That's cold, right? When you come from 75. Sure. There were swells this is a whole other thing, but the swells on the lake were over 6 feet high.
Dude,
I've never seen waves are crashing on Tahoe. But here's the thing. So our preparation had helped us to a certain extent, from the cold perspective. But a lot of people didn't expect how cold it was going to be outside. The air temperature was colder than the water temperature. Yep. The water temperature was in the 50s. It was like 54. So the first thing you got to get in there early a.m. and kind of try and acclimate and get your wetsuit wet, whatever. Other people are standing on the shore freezing their asses off, huddled together, waiting till the last minute before they have to get in the water. Only a third of the field finished the swim on that day. Only a third of, that's a whole other thing. So they freaked the fuck out.
So the people that finished, were they the ones that were waiting outside of the water to start, or were they the ones in the water?
No.
Because I have a similar story. Yeah, so I'm very curious.
No, the people that were in the water, and again, you could only be in the water so long because they stage these things, right? That was a huge field, right? So you go in age groups or whatever. And no, a lot of them, this is a pro race. This is the Western Regional Championships where you went to Hawaii on the Big Island to race ultimately if you qualified at this race. So people that finished, a large amount of people that finished were like the pro sponsored, athletes that finished.
Were they in the water?
They were definitely in the water warming up prior, or at least the ones that I know podiumed and that were usually winning were. For the rest of us, there were some of us that were and weren't. But I can't honestly answer that question because all I know, this is back to what you were kind of making a statement there about before how they did, this is what pissed me the fuck off. So I finished that swim, right? And I knew I would. As miserable it was, people were getting seasick out there. They were throwing up on themselves, and they were having to be. They were literally being pulled. They were being pulled out of the water by the Coast Guard and the sheriff's office boats and the lifeguards that were there on the thing. They let those fucking people start the bike ride before all of the swimmers that were finishing.
You get pulled out, you're done.
You're done, right?
You're done.
Yeah, you have no idea how pissed I was.
I would have been pissed too.
So I don't know. I don't actually know the answer to your question, CeCe. But anyway, going back to your story.
Oh, well, you know, I just from personal experience, like you, when I did the St. George Ironman, it was the inaugural Ironman there, and the water was below 60 degrees. And at that time, I was like maybe 108, 110 pounds, and definitely under 10% body fat. And I remember standing on the shore thinking, okay, do I get in or do I not get in? And I ended up getting in so I could acclimate. So because I know in cold water in the past, because swims up at an aquatic park, I would get in and I'd start freaking out and my heart rate would go up. I'd have a really hard time breathing. I wouldn't be able to get my face in. So I was like, okay, I need to get in the water and get acclimated. And I was so hypothermic. Like it was a 2.4 mile swim. And when I got out, I couldn't even take off my clothes.
That's a 40-minute swim?
Yeah.
I think I did it in like 50 some minutes, a 2.4 mile swim. And I couldn't even change my clothes. The people in the tent had to strip my wetsuit off and put my clothes on. Right. And I remember everything was blurry and I got on my fucking bike. Right. And I was having such gastrointestinal problems that day. I mean, and then it was like however many 100 and so many miles of riding, and I was having a hard time getting my nutrients in and stuff like that. It was fucking miserable. So I kind of wonder if I had stayed on shore, if I wouldn't have been as hypothermic. Cold, yeah. I don't know.
Probably not. It's probably more of what we were going to with that, which is training your body and mind
to be in that area,
to relax and deal with the parasympathetic and the way it needs to deal with it. I actually got in another race, in an adventure race, got turned over in a kayak out, actually was down in Malibu, the Malibu area. Not even that cold, but cold enough. It was low body fat. It was a fall day or whatever, the wind was blowing. I passed out in the water from hypothermia. I had to be pulled out by the Coast Guard. They took me to the shore. Like I woke up on the shore. Like
Do you ever tell your mom and dad that story?
I don't remember.